session, and there's no action taken. It was just a clarification. We'll move on. Resolution number R1405, a resolution to execute an employment agreement with Gary W. Bradley. City Attorney Paul Kreis will make comments.
Commissioners, Mr. Bradley has been employed by the city since, I believe, October 1st of 2012. And his employment agreement will expire on March 31st pursuant to our discussions in executive session. This employment agreement would give Mr. Bradley a 4-year employment agreement commencing as of April 1st. It establishes his salary going forward and essentially incorporates the same additional benefits that he received under his previous agreement. For example, the vehicle allowance, the cell phone allowance, the leave benefits, the health and life insurance, et cetera. I'll be happy to answer any questions you may have.
Mr. Bradley, would you like to make any comments?
I believe everything he stated is factual. and I have truly enjoyed my first term here and look forward to many more years working in this community.
So this contract is agreeable to you then?
Yes, it is.
Okay. Commissioners, questions?
I have none.
Okay. I'll make a motion to approve Resolution R1405 for adoption.
Second.
Motion was made by Mayor George and seconded by Commissioner Faulkner to approve resolution number R-14-05 for adoption. Commissioner Edwards.
Aye.
Commissioner Castler.
Aye.
Mayor George.
Aye.
Commissioner Williams.
Aye.
Commissioner Faulkner.
Aye.
Item number 6, Resolution R1406, a resolution to ratify the purchase of real property located at 1401 West 8th Street. City Manager Gary Bradley will make comments.
Mayor and Commissioners, in November of 2012, voters approved the use of a half-cent sales tax to fund renovations to this building and 4 other municipally owned buildings. The city architect indicated when they presented to you June 11th of last year that it was in our best interest to vacate this building during construction because it was impractical to expect that staff would be able to work side by side with the contractors given the nature of the renovations. As we are required to vacate this building during that construction period, we had to find a suitable replacement, not just for the second floor, but for the first floor as well, police and everybody. We did find one building that was up for sale at a public auction, the former Bank of America building, 1401 West 8th. We felt was perfectly suited for the types of transactions that we do in customer service. That building is designed for monetary transactions, and it could be argued that that building would actually allow a higher level of service than we currently provide our customers because people will be able to pay their utility payments through the use of a drive-through. So this ordinance would ratify the execution of those documents and authorize the expenditure of the funds for the city's winning bid. The city's winning bid was $65,000 plus a bid premium of 5% and closing costs of $5,200. At this time, it would be our expectation that when the city is through with the use of that building, we would be able to sell it for somewhere in that neighborhood, perhaps more, perhaps less, but whatever alternative, it would be less than if we were to go out and try to rent commercial space for the same amount of time that we would be required to vacate the building.
I've heard it said, don't ask a question if you can't stand the answer. But the question is, what if, after a period of time, the new construction work is completed here in this building, there is and I'm just crystal balling, what if there was an overwhelming community surge that says, we like being able to drive up to that window. We don't want you to vacate that building. And there would be a groundswell that says, don't move public service. Don't move back into City Hall. We like it where it is. Is there, what happens then?
If that were the case, I would suggest that the $73,000 investment was well worth it. That you have to weigh that cost and that $73,000 plus the cost of any change orders, and I know how you feel about change orders, that would be required to convert customer service, what's currently
Because-
designed as customer service.
Because then the new plans, you've got space here then.
If that became clear and compelling early enough, you could alter the plans for the second floor to incorporate them for use as something else, but you want to make sure that it's a viable use.
And then how does that complicate communication between the rest of the City Hall, the rest of the staff, and that extended office? Does that create issues?
We currently have operations in several different buildings. That's the nature of the work. The electric is over they've got two buildings, one for generation, one for distribution, and the folks that collect the money are here. We have to talk to each other. We have to communicate. I don't think it would further complicate things. It would just complicate them differently.
I fully support what has happened. What I'm just saying is,
Yeah, it
what
is.
if, it's a very big what if, but I had to ask the question.
It's a good question, and I think that the commission would have to decide whether or not there was value in that. Certainly, if there was, as you say, a groundswell of support and people, the masses coming into the commission and speaking about how much they love being able to drive through, we're all about providing the best customer service that we can, and so I think we'd have to listen to that.
All right, thank you.
I do want to say something to the public. This was discussed, we knew this was coming up, and the commissioners discussed it in executive session and gave the city manager the go-ahead to bid on this building, but we also set a limit to how much money the city was willing to spend to purchase this building. So this is not something that was done just off the spur of the moment or anything else. And that's another reason we use executive sessions, because we didn't want anybody to know exactly how much money we were willing to spend for it. I just want to make that clear to the public. Okay? Any other questions about this? I'll entertain a motion then.
Thank you.
Move to approve resolution number R-14-06 for adoption.
No second?
Motion was made by Commissioner Edwards and seconded by Commissioner Faulkner to approve resolution number R-14-06 for adoption. Commissioner Edwards.
Aye.
Commissioner Faulkner.
Aye.
Commissioner Williams.
Aye.
Commissioner Castler.
Aye.
Mayor George.
All right. Number 7, action to set a public hearing for Tuesday, February the 25th, 2014, 6:30 PM on the recodification of the model zoning ordinance. City planner and architect Dennis Jacobs will make comments.
Mayor and Commissioners, you recall that a couple of months ago, I presented to you a document in a final draft form so that you would have an opportunity to review the work that had gone on with our consultant Oxner, Hare and Hare, and also the Planning Commission over the last year plus a little bit of time in looking at the out-of-date format of the zoning ordinances that we have. The wording of some of the items in the description of uses for various zoning classifications was antiquated. We still had blacksmithing in there and photostatting and some things that were appropriate at the time, but certainly not in this technical age. And at least I haven't seen horses other than a parade coming down the street. But In addition, we had some areas, communications towers as a conditional use that had been passed by you some time ago, but was never incorporated into a document. The document that we had was done on a word processor, not on a computer, and it was not in a format that would allow us to edit very easily. And so it's a problem for the community to be able to access and use our zoning ordinance or have access to it through our website and be able to use it in a readily available fashion. And much as we did with the comprehensive plan, we have put it into a format that allows the public to go in and identify specific areas that they can go immediately to, and to provide it as a source or a resource for the public should they need or want to look at our zoning ordinances and comprehensive plan. We have done that, and the document that you were given before Christmas is essentially the document that Mr. Oxner will be here to talk about the second meeting in February. We will advertise the 20-day requirement so that we have it as a public hearing, and he will be here to answer any questions that you might have with regard to his preparation of the document, and certainly I'll be here to answer any questions if you would have them on our response and the Planning Commission's work in that behalf.
Okay, thank you, Dennis. Any questions? Okay. Motion.
I move to set a public hearing for Tuesday, February 25th, 2014, at 6:30 PM for the recodification of the model zoning ordinance.
Second?
Motion was made by Commissioner Faulkner and seconded by Commissioner Edwards to set a public hearing for Tuesday, February 25th at 6:30 PM for the recodification of the model zoning ordinance. Commissioner Castler.
Aye.
Mayor George.
Aye.
Commissioner Edwards.
Aye.
Commissioner Williams.
Aye.
Commissioner Faulkner.
Aye.
Comments from the commissioners and staff? Staff have any comments?
I hate going first because sometimes I steal your thunder. But I want to start off this by saying thank you to the police and fire and ambulance service folks who put themselves in harm's way to protect our community. Over the weekend, we had a fire in which we had some folks from each of those agencies hurt. And nobody was seriously injured, and everybody went home. I think that's the goal at the end of the day, but I just want to say thank you to those folks every day.
And we had another fire this morning at 4:45 AM.
Yeah.
He said that yours okay. This better be good news.
Mayor, Commissioners, just want to give you an update on the repairs to the FD fan on boiler 4 that was damaged last Thursday. Repairs are ahead of schedule. Crews stopped working tonight between 5:30 and 6 p.m. We actually had the fan up and running, both the high-speed and low-speed fan, a 300 horse and a 900 horse. Our staff and the outside contractor that we have assisting us with this, everything ran fine. We just had one small issue with the 300 horse motor. We sent both motors off last Friday to be repaired to Lee Summit to their shop. We're not sure what the issue is with this 300 horse motor, but we feel it's minor at this point. But they're going to have a motor technician on site first thing tomorrow morning so we can address that and find out what the issue is. Our plan, our hopes are to have it back to ready for dispatch sometime tomorrow.
How old are those motors, do you know?
1971.
That's
Should we-
very young. Having been born that year, I can say that's very, they're like new.
Should you?
And I will give you an update on boiler 5. We're scheduled for testing on that February 4th. So our plans are to bring that up and put that unit online, boiler 5 and unit 6 for final testing. And hopefully we can find out the cause and get it released back to us after that.
Should those motors not be just replaced?
We send them off, their regular schedule to send them off, have them tested.
But that means they're coming back. I'm
Well-
saying, shouldn't we leave them gone and just get new ones? And
No, I don't think so. I mean, they break them all down, tear them apart, check the bearings, do electrical test on them,
you'd know more than I would.
yeah.
That means we
Wait.
need to do new generation.
I'm still completely open-minded about that.
Thank you.
Thanks, Mike. Anybody else?
Staff had no other reports.
No other reports, okay? I will start off, if that's all right. I really have nothing to say. The only thing I was going to do is, if any of the commissioners want to, would you, do you want to make any comments to Mr. Taylor's comments in the paper? I give you the opportunity now.
Which, I haven't seen the paper.
I
I'd have to reserve comments.
I didn't read his comments because I haven't read anything that man's written for at least 3 years. All I would say is that anybody who reads what he puts in the paper and gives any credence to it, probably should second guess that strategy, because this is a guy that was elected to a 4-year term and sat up here repeatedly and said that he would serve out his term until death overcame him, and then 2 years into his term, he quit. So he has a right to speak his opinion, and I, for one, have a right to ignore it, and that's what I continue to choose to do. And I think that the people of Coffeyville would be well-served to keep in mind that the person that's again sowing discontent and disharmony in our community is a person who's not rooted most of the time in what he says in facts, and I think it's too bad that he's up to his old tricks again.
I would like to point out in Chief Celeste's defense that Mr. Taylor has spoken very highly of myself and Chief Celeste and other staff members as well. And so I think it's okay for people to give that some credence.
Well, just give it time.
Okay, Jim.
All right, couple of items. At our last meeting, the mayor requested a strategic planning session. Where are we on that?
I'm just,
Yeah, and I really just I was actually gonna send you, folks an email finding out what dates might work best for you or
Okay.
what day of the week.
Okay, I didn't want that to
No,
die on the
in
vine.
fact, we talked about it as recently as today in our staff meetings.
Okay,
So it was still on my radar.
okay.
I just know that some of you work very odd hours. And
I'm trying not to, trust
It-
me.
it would be beneficial if I had a listing of what dates in the upcoming month might work best for you so that we could coordinate something.
Tuesday nights
Okay.
work for me.
All right. And then, where are we, what sort of decisions have been made regarding our PR effort on the poly carts, trash carts? Any efforts there?
We have,
Because we had talked about a PR effort to make sure, encourage our citizens to pull those off the street after the,
The day after the commission meeting, the last commission meeting, it's posted on the Channel 13. It's on Facebook, and it is going to be on the utility bills.
okay, all right, thank you. And is it too soon to talk about additional information on the waiver of permit fees to other taxing entities?
it is not too soon. I can say that I received an email, and I believe the mayor did as well, from the school district requesting that their request be withdrawn. However, I think we were talking about formulating some kind of approach that would work for the school district. We know that if the rec commission builds batting cages, for instance, there will be a permit pulled for that. We know that the college may have some plans for future improvements. I think we need to still develop a clear and consistent approach that we apply to all taxing entities or even a non-for-profit such as the hospital.
I agree.
Agree?
I
Okay.
think that was
And then-
Commissioner
So
Williams.
just,
My thought on that is I'd like to see either it put on a future agenda. That way, if anyone wants to show up and comment on their specific thoughts on that particular agenda item, they can have fair notice that we're gonna discuss that. And I would suggest that we come up with a ordinance, or at least a policy, that no matter, basically that all the taxing entities are treated the same way. Whether we either charge them or we don't charge them is not so much my I wouldn't say concern, but my fear, or my issue. My fear and issue is that we're not treating everybody the same.
I think we're all in agreement. We need to be consistent.
I agree.
Well, can we set it for the next meeting?
We can.
And we'll discuss it, and that way Cindy can post it through the Facebook and all the rest of it. The public will know that we're gonna discuss this. If the taxing entities wanna be here, they can, to give their opinion, and we can get this thing off the dead center.
Okay, all right. And then my last item, may not have any information to be able to do anything about it, but at our last meeting, during the comments from the public, Mr. Clarence Morris told us about a demolition notice that he had received for his property at 1116 West 3rd. And we acknowledged that it was essentially at that point out of our hands because it was a court issue. Do we know what has happened to date? Is there any, I guess my question is, if the court gave him additional time or made some recommendation and threw it back in the city's lap, would we then have jurisdiction or any kind of policy from code enforcement on how we would proceed? Is there anything new?
No. No. He told us that he owned that house. Is that correct?
That's incorrect.
He's buying it on contract.
Okay.
He is not the legal owner of the property.
He is not the
in question.
legal owner of the property. Did I miss that during the
I don't believe
previous
he's-
discussion?
I do not believe he stated that.
You didn't state that.
He did not state that. All right, thank you very much.
I think it's something that the mayor might want to consider, standing operating procedure. Anytime a citizen comes to us with a complaint related to their property, I would like to see us, because we're always caught flat-footed in that instance. We don't know the whole story from code enforcement. We haven't had a chance to look at the property in question and make our own judgments. I would like to see us start inviting these people back to the next commission meeting. That would give us an opportunity in the 2 weeks between meetings to go and look at the property and make a judgment, and then have a informed discussion with that citizen.
I'd like to interject there a little bit. Is it my understanding that these people are being cited into court and they go to, Mr. Counselor, that these people are being cited into court and then they're going to court and they're getting a judgment, basically, that the municipal court judge says that this property is basically
Constitutes a
uninhabitable.
blight, yes.
Uninhabitable, can't be lived in, needs to be destroyed or condemned, et cetera, et cetera. And then those people are the ones that are coming to us and saying, hey, the municipal court judge has deemed my property to be in poor shape, whatever, we're gonna have to destroy it. I think it's unwise for the commission to get involved in that. I think that if I'm not mistaking, that person's recourse, they have a recourse
It's
that
the
they can
court
appeal
system.
that decision to the district court.
That's correct.
And they can have the district court review that decision and take evidence, and the district court judge can make a ruling on that. Am I correct?
You are correct.
I think that we need not even get involved, because that person has a legal recourse, and they should, if they're in any way serious about saving their property, they should have an attorney telling them that they need to take these measures we need not be involved.
Yeah, you're right, Chris, and what I don't want to do is, I don't want us second guessing our code enforcement lady.
Right.
That is her job, she's the one on it, she knows everything, and
Yeah.
I tell you what I do, when I have people call, and he called me too, and I listened to him for a long time, and he was making threats and everything else. One thing I did is turn around and I called the chief, and I said, "Chief, fill me in."
What's the
Because
story?
they don't tell you the truth when they're on the phone with you, I guarantee you that. And chief filled me in on it, and so I just, I'm not worried about this guy. I mean, he was lying and everything else. And normally what I'll do is if I get a phone call, I'll call chief or I'll call Tammy and say, just fill me in on what the situation is. And then that's it. I don't get involved in it. It's not my job. They do it.
There's always another side to the story. But I think you all are a sounding board to some of these folks, and, you know, it's appropriate for you to listen to them and then say, it's really in the hands of the code enforcement officer as well as the judge. And the judge, you know, Tammy gives folks plenty of time to comply, and the judge gives people time to comply. So by the time they're coming to you,
It's
they've
far
had-
along in the process.
It is. It's pretty far along in the
Well,
process.
this guy's been given more than enough time.
Yes.
He just decided he didn't want to show up.
Wow.
Yeah, and you didn't know that.
Okay.
I feel Tammy's job is hard enough. I've talked to the public, and bless her heart, she's public enemy number one sometimes, and backing her up is what we need to do. And she has it rough, whether it's tickets for this or that. I've heard stories of my neighbor's grass was 2 feet tall, mine was 1 feet tall, and I got the ticket. I've heard everything under the sun, and her job is hard enough. I heard plants at a time. And I want these people to step in her shoes and try to do her job. And tell her that she has my admiration. I wouldn't want her job. And she probably wouldn't want to be up here either. But still, she does a great job. And it's hard to do. You know, she's like the parking authority. She really is a thankless job, but somebody has to do it.
Anybody else got any other comments?
I do real quick.
Okay.
I want to say I had a great time with Coffee with a Cop. Through this last year, I've had a lot of interaction with the cops. I've done a ride-along. I've done Shop with a Cop, which I thank you guys very much for doing. And now Coffee with a Cop. You guys are doing a great job of getting out there and getting to the public. Whether people come or not, that's up to them. It was put out there. When I went, there wasn't a lot of huge crowd, but that's okay. It's open and honest to the public for people to come. And I don't know how much information you got, how much interaction you got, because I didn't stay for very long. But keep on doing that. I hope it moves from site to site. It doesn't just stay at Utopia, because it's a great shop. I don't go there that often because I'm not a coffee person. But I enjoy my time, and please keep up the effort.
We also decided while we were there, Marcus, that we're going to start a new program. It's called Tase the Commissioner.
So you're first?
No, you get to be first.
No, I amend myself in there.
We're going to raise some money, save the taxpayers some money.
I've been in a dunk tank, but yeah, tasing.
I had a question for you, Jim. Did you get that study that you needed for the legislative?
No.
I found it in my Dropbox deal, so I will send it to you.
Okay.
I found it the other night, but I didn't send it to you because I thought Gary might have already sent it to you, so
Okay.
I'll get that to you. The only other thing I want to say is Gary and I, and the fire chief, we go to a meeting about once a month with some industry people. And I just want to throw this out to you because I brought it up on a brainstorm. I found out from one of our big industries that they have 24 open positions that were in the 65,000 range for people. They just hired 16, and part of the issue was housing. And then talking to the city manager, we find out that there's a couple other businesses here in town that had similar numbers, but the problem was the housing. And so I just threw this out, just speaking personally, not as a commissioner or anything else, but I just asked the company that was there, I said, maybe we ought to sit down and talk, and maybe there's some way we can work together you need employees, we want housing, and maybe we can just formulate some kind of a plan to be able to satisfy this need. And they acted interested. Again, there was nothing, brought up or anything else. So I have asked Gary to try to but try to set a meeting up with some of the execs of these companies, and where Gary and I could sit down with them and maybe brainstorm, throw out some ideas on how we can help them bring in employees, and by the same token, help us create new housing. And when we do that, then that also will create the retail that we need.
It's interesting you say that. I had, at the college game the other night, I had an opportunity to sit and have a conversation with the executive director of the MAC, and it was the same topic, and there were, he even went so far as to tell me about conversations that he'd had with CVR, Amazon, Southwire. It had not touched John Deere yet, but there was an extensive need. There was a great need for housing, and a lot of these seem to be at the middle management, junior executive level, as you mentioned, for positions 65,000 and up.
Well, the reason he was talking to you about that, he was invited to this meeting that night. And this was his first time at the meeting, and when I brought it up, and him and Gary and I stepped outside and was really brainstorming, trying to throw ideas out on what we could do to encourage development for housing. That's what we're looking at doing. And if we put this thing together, or if we go through the meeting, Gary and I'll bring you notes from the meeting and keep you abreast of what we're finding out from them. I don't have anything else. Chris, you got anything you want?
No.
Okay,
I got a couple things.
okay.
Tornado sirens, we're good to go on the push notifications for cell phones, correct?
We are. We do have the iPause system implemented. We're working on an RFP for tornado siren system. We'd like to get some input and consultation on our current system, what we can do, if we can move to a radio frequency-based alerting system for our current sirens, see if we need to replace, do maintain, or add, or our tornado sirens. So hopefully by the next commission meeting, I'll be bringing an RFP for your approval.
Tornado season is weeks away.
Yeah. And I certainly don't see anything implemented before then. Our current system obviously is in place. I think we've got the opportunity here with the remodel. Now's the time to do this study and look at our siren systems and see if we need to update something, if we need to add sirens, if we need to change locations of sirens and things of that nature. And I think we're at the point we're bringing a professional in to help with that consultation is the right thing to do.
Thank you, Chief. The remodel project at the public library, it's my understanding we are not replacing all the carpet in that building, is that correct?
That's my understanding as well, and I have not been over there since you emailed me to verify in those 2 rooms.
I cannot imagine a scenario in my mind where carpet that was laid in 1979 is in good enough shape to be kept. And so, in my opinion, every bit of carpet in that building, I don't care if it's under a bookshelf or in an office, needs to be replaced. Because in all likelihood, they're not going to get more new carpet for another 30 years. And I don't want us to be replacing 60-year-old carpet when I'm 70.
I can say that under the bookshelves, it was not scheduled to be replaced. They were laying carpet tile and cutting along the bookshelves. It won't be seen, but it is an incredible cost to lift and move those bookshelves, so that is not how that was bid. It was bid with carpet tile that's replaceable.
What happens at some point in the future if they want to reposition their bookshelves?
We do have an overage on carpet tile as well. So, I mean, we get extra carpet tile.
Okay.
So,
Well, that's
if
the whole
they
point of
move
having
them-
tiled
If
carpet.
they move them, they can move the tiles, but it was not bid that way.
Okay. Fill me in. What are you talking about?
The public library
Uh-huh.
was built in 1979.
I understand. I thought we was replacing all the carpet.
I did too, and then I went to the library and checked out some DVDs and found out, oh, wait a minute, that's not entirely true. I've got a problem with that. And only because we all know how it goes, it's very likely gonna be another 30 years before they get, you know,
What rooms weren't we replacing?
The offices.
but it's, 30-year-old carpet's 30-year-old
Yeah,
carpet.
that is so minor, that needs to be done. That's just,
Agreed.
The bookshelves I can deal with, because people aren't gonna see it and people aren't gonna walk on it, but everywhere else, it needs to be replaced. It was beautiful carpet 30 years ago. Streetlights to Walmart, and before you get started, it's my understanding that the electric department people were ready to order this stuff and run with it, and I appreciate that, but I understand that we got a new sheriff in town, and we're trying to do things according to a process, and I completely respect that.
That is not correct. We have the same sheriff, Sheriff
No.
Bobby Dirks.
It's just, I'm talking about you.
I'm
What
not getting
process-
paid for both jobs.
What's the
No,
process going forward?
You had asked that we put lights all the way out to Walmart.
Yeah,
And
streetlights.
streetlights, and staff was moving forward with that, and I said, you don't work for him. It takes a majority of the commission to direct you to incur that kind of expense, and so we kind of put the brakes on that. They
Yeah.
were ready to move forward with,
God bless them.
designing how those would fit, how those
Right.
would be attached to the bridge and things like that, and we kind of stopped it. So if it's the desire of the commission,
I'd like to see the price on it, and I think then we could make a decision.
we can come up with some cost estimates and let you know.
And I think at some point, it may also be wise to consider extending the streetlights on 11th Street out west a little bit further. At the very least to the Klein Road intersection, if not to
Boulder,
yeah, Boulder. No, what's the other north-south corridor street out there, past Siggins,
overlook.
Overlook. But again, I mean, it all depends on the price.
Well, you do have a street light at Klein, and you do have a street light at Boulder.
Never understood that Boulder street light. Somebody's gonna have to give me the story behind that. Last thing I wanna say is, there must be a story because you're giggling over here. I've now worked with 3 different city managers, and each of them had their strong points and weak points. And in the year and few months that I've worked with you, I feel very hopeful, much more so now than at any other point in my tenure as a commissioner in the future of our town, because I finally feel like we have leadership in the city government that's interested in doing the small things right, who's interested in stuff like streets and cleaning up the city and fixing the water lines and doing getting the basic services right that we're supposed to be doing. And it was my pleasure to vote for a contract extension for you tonight, and I hope that you continue on the path that you're on. And I think as long as you do that, I think that you'll be here as long as you want to. And I hope that that's a long time.
thank you, and I would just add to that it's only been successful because we've had a lot of staff members who have embraced that philosophy as well, and are truly dedicated to providing great service to our residents, businesses, and visitors.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Meeting adjourned.